Okay, here's a brief explanation of the September water evaporation project. Your lab paper looks something like this. And what we will be doing is each group will get a jar, and if you notice on the side of the jar there are markings. So this says 500, this says 400, 300, 200. Those are measurements in milliliters. Okay, so we're going to fill the jar, don't use the cups, but the milliliters. Okay, we're going to fill the jar up to a certain amount and see how the water level evaporates and decreases over time. We'll be using masking tape on our jars, so we're not writing directly on the jars. We will be using Sharpies as well. There are a couple colors. This is what you should do. So I used some masking tape, and so first I drew in these lines at the 500, 400, 300, etc. milliliter on the side of the jar, and then using either a ruler or your eye and hand, if you have sort of precise skills, I marked off in between, so 350, 450, 550, and then broke each of these into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So I basically have a pretty accurate indication of 400, 410, 420, 430, 440, 450, 460, yada 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 yada, etc. Okay, so use the Sharpie, use a ruler if need be, and create these markings on the masking tape on the jar for your group. You may label your jar. Well, definitely put your label on it, a label on it. Excuse me. You could name your group. You could put your group members' names or whatever, but make sure you have labeled it so people know whose it is. And I filled mine up to something near the top. You don't have to fill it up to exactly what I did, but somewhere up here. And these bubbles were a little weird. I waited for a while to measure, but I think that my water level is right here. And so this is 500, this is 510. So I had 520 milliliters. So I found a location. If you are in the front of the class, you're going to be by the windowsill, and if you are in the back of the class, you're going to be, there's another area set up in the back of the class by the sink. I set my jar down, I labeled Mr. T, so this could be your group name or your group members' names. Again, just make sure your group name is appropriate if you're choosing one. And on my lab paper, here's my data for today. So today is Tuesday, it is September 2nd. I had a water level of 520 milliliters. And then for other observations, well, there were some bubbles on top of the water. And that's my data for today. Tomorrow I will check and we'll see. What we kind of expect is that over time some of the water is going to evaporate. And what's next? Yes. So on your lab paper you could draw a diagram of apparatus, and the apparatus is the jar with the water in it and the markings. Thank you.